question, just before I get the calls. Your contract is up.
Yes, it is.
End of June, no contract. But no talks.
Yeah, we're back at the bargaining table, hopefully in September. We made a decision, actually both sides made the decision that we would take a natural break, which we usually do when we're bargaining. We felt there was no crisis happening. We weren't gearing up for any kind of job action or strike vote or anything like that. Our plan was just to resume bargaining and hope that we can come to an agreement. We were actually hoping that we could have reached that agreement at the end of June, but the resources weren't there. Then there was all this potential interruptions and disruptions where government wanted the employer to stop being at the bargaining table, which didn't make sense to us. But, we were able to convince them to continue bargaining right to the end of June, and we actually made some progress on some minor issues, which is important, and hopefully we can take that on through when we resume bargaining.
Let me get some calls. Joanna, good morning.
Good morning, Jim. I'm just phoning to wish you luck. I'm a teacher.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you appreciate what big shoes you have to fill.
Absolutely.
And just hearing you this morning, I feel confident that you're well on your way.
Joanna, where do you teach? And I don't mean what school, but what grade level?
I teach grade 4.
Okay.
And I was struck by I don't know, was it 9:30? You had some people on about offering tutoring for ADHD. And I'm thinking over the 22 years of my teaching career, the number of children I had that could have benefited from one-on-one tutoring right in our school. And no such help is ever available. Mm-hmm. They're helped in larger groups. When they do need to kind of leave the classroom for a bit of a respite, to do something different, there's nowhere to send them. So you have to get on with the needs of all the other children you have in your class, 29 others that deserve an education as well. And, it creates a lot of tension in the classroom.
Sure it does. Rod, good morning.
Hi, Bill, and to your guest. I have a comment and a question, which is really a yes or no answer required. My biggest concern about the education system is quality of teachers, and I believe there's a lot of good teachers, but I'm concerned about the ones that are not up to par. My question would be, would you approve a system, yes or no, that would fairly evaluate teachers, create a report, and identify those teachers that are really not up to par as far as their teaching ability?
I'm interested to hear Mr. Iker's response, but there are very few questions that are answered in a simple yes or no because they're not simple questions. But Mr. Iker, how do you respond to the concern about evaluation?
We actually have a system in place in our collective agreements that evaluates teachers. Some of them evaluate teachers on a regular cycle. Some of them evaluate teachers when administrators identified issues. And part of that is the due process. And if you identify issues that need to be worked on, there needs to be a plan of assistance in place to give the teacher the opportunity to work on that plan of assistance. So we do have evaluation.
Who does the evaluation?
The evaluation is usually done by a principal or a vice principal, or sometimes maybe a director of instruction, or even a superintendent has done evaluations in the past.
Back with more of your calls. Mike, new president of the BC Teachers Federation. Just a few minutes left for your calls. Karen, good morning.
Oh, hi, Bill. They have a career preparation in the high schools, and I said, why don't they have a proper vocational school? Like they have drafting and design, they have metalworking, power mechanics, automotive technology, carpentry, and joinery in grade 11 and 12, and maybe grade 10. Why don't they just let the kids get out of school in grade 10 and then have the other 2 years proper vocational, proper training, that they become have a job to go to afterwards? If you want to be a carpenter, you cannot learn it just in those few courses.
No, but just recently I had young Matthew Stowe in here. He's just won the Top Chef Canada competition, and he got his initial training in high school right here in BC. To what degree is there skills training available in high schools?
Well, I think that's one of the areas that probably we've seen disappear across this province in terms of the different shop classes that are being offered. And, we would support absolutely more types of vocational courses happening in our secondary schools, and that they be supported and funded, because I think that's also an important avenue for our students. And not all our students across this province have that opportunity, and they should.
Rod, good morning. You're back.
Hi, Bill. I just wanted to get a chance to respond to the teacher evaluation situation. I have spoken to principals and I've spoken to counselors, and you get the exact same answer when you talk to them about a teacher. And I'll give you an example. Obviously, I won't say the name, but let's just say teacher A is a woodwork teacher. Kids like the teacher. They listen. They learn. They get great projects to do in school. Teacher B, who is teaching older kids, is boring as they come, refuses to do any good projects, and the kids are now completely turned off woodworking. So that's just a common situation.
So how do you deal with that?
The principal will say, I have no say whatsoever in how this teacher does their job. There's nothing I can do. When you go and talk to a counselor, they will look at you and say, yeah, you're not the only parent that said anything. Sorry, nothing I can do about it. You know that this is just speak. All it is union speak, that they will actually do something about a teacher who is not educating kids. This is the problem.
Is it your job to defend every teacher, regardless of whether or not, like in every job, people get tired, they get bored, they have, it's time to move on.
We have a role as a union to ensure that all our members have due process. And that's an important piece, and I think that's fundamental to our democracy, and it's fundamental.
But how long should that take, and how long should kids have to be suffering at the hands of a teacher who perhaps is past their due date?
I think what's important that if there's issues identified, that there are ways, and you may say that's the standard answer that's given, but there are ways within the collective agreement to deal with our members that if there are issues that arise. And I think what's so important is that when issues arise, it's important that there is a plan in place that's worked out to work on whatever the issues are. And I firmly believe that. And, I can't comment on that situation. I can't comment on that principle, on what they're able to do or not able to do, or what they're willing to do.
I thank you for being here. It's good to meet you.
Thank
Jim
you.
Iker, President of the BC Teachers Federation.